Perhaps no other sport is as uniquely defined by individuals as NASCAR. For every driver's action, there's a reaction. From the track, to the sponsors, to the fans. They're players in a high-speed drama, and they've been called everything from vanilla to villain. And yet the fearlessness which characterizes their driving also carries over to their conversation. So here they are, candid and unabashed, four of NASCAR's biggest stars to face.
I've always worn my emotions on my shoulder. I don't have much of a filter, and I'm all right with that. I want to win 8.
2006 second. Fourth five-time champion.
I need to put that mark way out there and give me something to chase.
I don't expect everybody to like me.
Kyle Busch is an ass.
I just hope they don't hate me.
My father was one of the best in the business. I just knew it was going to be tough to really sell people on me.
From the chaos and intensity of a racetrack to an art gallery, Jimmie Johnson is equally at home. Work or play, racing or family, he has an uncommon ability to shift focus, something that resulted in 5 straight Cup championships. On display here, and in a book entitled On the Road, is his quest for a 6th during the 2011 chase, with wife Shani and daughter Evie in tow. It's kind of a funky area of Charlotte here. Art museum?
Yeah, a little different. We're in Charlotte, technically. Great gallery here. We've put a bunch of images in here from our book On the Road, and then also some other images that we shot last year during the chase. And Shani had this amazing vision of the book and the gallery, and here's the gallery.
The photographer took, I think, over 15,000 images.
Wow.
You know, we really wanted to focus on powerful images, certainly telling a story of what went on over the chase last year, but more photo-driven and image-driven than really storytelling.
And Jimmie had one task, and that was to name all the photographs for the exhibit. So
I was stuck on bend over at first, and she found that inappropriate, so I went to the second option was baby mama.
I'm like, oh, but even better.
That's really nice.
Yes. I'm like, great.
I'm assuming that when you're with Jimmie, you have to learn to have a sense of humor.
Oh, totally.
Well,
and
my sense of humor,
so
I'm not sure.
I'm like, well, at least this is not so serious. I mean, it is an exhibit, but we are still having fun.
Jimmie Johnson goes to the top of the stack in Kansas, scores his 2nd win of the season.
What do you remember about that moment?
That was near the midway point of the chase. Feelings were strong and good, and we thought we could keep the streak alive at that point. And ironically, there's a section of crash photos. The next race at Charlotte had a big wreck.
Jimmie Johnson, sideways.
Could be the turning point of the chase for the 48 team.
Went from the highs of highs here in Kansas to you know, the start of it all coming to an end.
That's what you called the emotional roller coaster of the chase, right? And that's sort of what you wanted to portray here.
I did. I mean, we knew if I won the championship and kept the streak alive, there would be an amazing story. And then if I lost, the same thing would be there. So it's just part of it. I mean, my streak came to an end. I hate that it did, but it's life, and you can't win everything. We try.
How tough was that?
As we started to lose our grip on the championship, when I look back on it, I don't like the mental approach I had, the attitude I had, the way I interacted with the race team.
Sounds real encouraging. Come on, dude. Dude, your cheerleading's terrible. I'm gonna drive my ass off. Don't sweat it. Just watch. Prove it, baby. Come on. Actually annoying instead of helping. Just let me go out and do my thing.
There was some vulnerability at that point. I think he felt like he was losing a little bit of control. He just seemed so in control the years past, and I think this year he seems so much more even keel.
I think the way in which we lost it was hard on me, and it's made me a better man, better racer today. I learned more from those tough moments, and I think everybody does.
So where are you taking me to here?
It's Cabo Fish Taco, one of our Mexican stops to fill my fix. I grew up in Southern California, and I need a fish taco and a cold beer from time to time.
Jimmie grew up in El Cajon, California, a community in the hills outside San Diego. He lived in a trailer home. His mom was a school bus driver, his dad a heavy equipment operator. From these meager beginnings came an unlikely racing career.
For me, my early years, it was all about motorcycles and bicycles. We didn't have a nice home, we didn't have nice cars, but we had new dirt bikes and we'd travel the country racing. As a kid, as long as my grades were up and my homework was done, I could literally hop on my bike, fire it off, and ride a mile on some little back asphalt roads and be off on trails and ride out on all these great tracks.
How old were you when you were first on a bike?
Christmas when I was 4, I got my first bike. I started racing that next season, so I was 5. There's just these little teeny tykes on motorcycles, and the parents all stand in the corner because inevitably they tip over, so the bike tips over and they stand them up and push them off and they go off again. I miss California. It's a great spot. So now when I go back, it's fun to see home and my old school and all those things, but I miss it. I'm so rooted now in North Carolina, but there still is a big part of me that's a SoCal guy.
Jimmie Johnson in his home state of California is headed to victory lane.
You are the man, Johnson. You are the man.
In 1996, Jimmie left California for Charlotte. He entered the NASCAR Cup Series full-time in 2002, driving a car owned by Rick Hendrick and Jeff Gordon.
I knew I had an amazing opportunity. Jeff Gordon had just won the championship the year before, and his entire fleet of cars was handed over to me to go racing with. So I was extremely excited, but then also knew there was a great deal of pressure coming, and if I didn't perform, I'm not sure I'd be around long.
When did you feel that you had really earned those opportunities?
I just kind of quietly sat back and was waiting to see where I would fit in. I'd say really championship 3 or 4, I felt like my voice deserved to be heard. I've always taken the kind of cautious route, and I think I was beat up on a little bit from the fans as a result, and they thought that I was maybe too vanilla at times, and rightfully so.
What is it that people have learned about you?
I mean, work hard, play hard. That's the way I was raised. I'm into sports, I'm into having fun, I'm into my friends, I'm into my family. I mean, absolutely, I'm gonna drink some beer and enjoy myself.
What's the dumbest thing you've ever done?
First thing that comes to mind is trying to surf the top of a golf cart.
A couple of broken wrists there, right?
Yeah, that was a broken wrist. The best 16 holes of golf that anyone has ever had, but then it ended abruptly.
What'd you take away from that experience?
In the end, I'm gonna be a fool, I've always been. Yes, that's kind of an embarrassing thing that I'll have to tell my daughter someday that I did, so I'm not thrilled about that. But the media that followed it, I didn't understand why anybody cared that I broke my wrist after the season was over. And it actually frustrated me heavily to turn on ESPN and to see the ticker and news flash. And I'm like, why? I don't get it. But now I get it.
In 2002, Jeff Gordon introduced Jimmie to Chandra Janway, who was working as a model in New York City. The couple married 2 years later, and in 2010 had a daughter named Genevieve.
How old was she when you first brought her on the road?
I think she was 2 months. I think.
Yeah, that's all right.
I want to say, yeah, I think her first trip she was 2 months old.
And right here, I mean, she's actually right in the middle of the action.
She prefers that, especially pre-race. You can see, here we are in Victory Lane. She's wandering around. This is pre-race, the next image over. And she's so intrigued by the car and the uniforms and the chaos that she'll just wander around the car and check things out. I'll hop on a golf cart at a race, put her headphones on and drive to a corner, and we'll watch the Nationwide Series or the Truck Series practice, and just totally loves it.
What about you as a mom? Because it's intense. Some people would say it can be kind of dangerous. Were you afraid at all at first about taking this little infant out there on the track?
Well, when she was an infant, yes. I think that was a little tricky. And now she's a little bigger, and she kind of leads the way.
What's the pre-race ritual when you guys are on the road?
I'll go out prior to do the intros and meet them at the car, say my goodbye, get in the car, and race. But it's not uncommon to be like, especially when she was smaller, in the sink of our bus, in my fire suit, helping bathe, getting her finished up as I hand her off to Shani. See you in a little bit, I gotta go to the car.
When does that switch flip? When you're dad and then you become Jimmie Johnson, the racer?
Really when we fire the engines. I've learned that, you know, once I strap in, put my helmet on, fire the engine, it's time to change gears and get into race mode.
Oh, here we go. Trouble, contact, and a huge crash. It looks like Dan Weldon may be involved in it.
We got to the racetrack and we're in the motorhome, and we were both drawn to the television watching it. And when we saw the image after and how Genevieve picked up on our energy and was watching with the same eyes, she didn't know what she was looking at, but she could just sense it from us. It's a really powerful shot to us.
What's it like for you guys to see something like that happen, to be confronted with the frailty of what you do as a profession?
It was tough.
Intense.
It's tough for me because I knew Dan, and then knowing the fact that he had a young family, it just became real to me in so many ways, and it really hit me.
And how do you handle that as a wife and a mother?
It definitely makes you think about it a little more when you have a family, but it's what he does and he loves it, and we support him.
2006 NASCAR champion.
The second year in a row.
Repeat, baby.
On his 4th consecutive.
Yeah! You're looking at the 5-time champion.
When you look back on that incredible period from 2005 to 2010, nobody had won 4 straight, much less 5. What is your overarching thought about that period of time?
Magical. It's crazy. It's mind-boggling. I'm very proud of what we've accomplished. I don't want to say it will never be done again, because if we did it, anybody can do it. But it went forever where someone won 3 straight, and that was Cale Yarborough in the 70s. So it's not going to happen easily. And I'm proud of that. You know, I like to leave a strong mark out there for somebody to go chase.
Have you set your sights on the all-time mark, becoming the all-time greatest with 8?
I have. I have a good friend that told me limits begin where the vision ends. So with that in mind, I want to win 8. I need to set a big mark out there, because I don't want to limit myself. So, and I know
you're not afraid to say it.
I'm not. I feel like it's different than, you know, calling a shot. I mean, it's a goal. I fully understand that it's a lofty one, and I don't know if it's possible to be done. But I have blown through every goal I've set for myself. My goal was to win a Cup race. I have 5 championships, so I need to put that mark way out there and give me something to go chase.
Ahead on NASCAR Face to Face, the rising star, the fan favorite, and the bad boy. An up-close look at 3 of NASCAR's top drivers. Next, Brad Keselowski is gunning for #1.
I feel good. Now I'm ready to win the chase. I have no stress.
River, a little western town Dale Earnhardt Jr. built on his property outside Charlotte, North Carolina. Among other things, he likes to celebrate his wins here. And that's something he finally got back to this year after a 4-year drought, only to see his hopes for a championship felled by concussions. Like everything else in Junior's life, that got played out in public. But on this day, he shared with us his private thoughts and his own personal world.
So this place is amazing. How did you get the idea to do this?
I was building a new house and I wanted to take care of the house. Me and my friends still like to hang out, but I didn't want to do it in my house. So we decided to build something or some kind of place where we could hang out and have some fun. And I'm into Westerns really big and just really love that era, you know, and that mystique. So we wanted to build something. We really didn't expect it to turn out like this.
Now, the first thing I noticed when I came in was that you had an outhouse. So is this actually, you know, is this a working outhouse or?
Well, it is up against the creek bank. So I would say it's partially working.
Right.
So you wouldn't want to do all your...
Oh my gosh!
I came home one time and I had the cockpit of an Indy car hanging out of a tree. My mom texted me and said that she thought the bobsled was pretty cool. And I said, what bobsled are you talking about? And it was actually the cockpit of an Indy car that had been brought in. There'll be all kinds of stuff in all kinds of funny places.
And the jail.
There's 2 jail cells in there that my uncles built for me. They actually did come in handy a couple times. We had some rowdy guests.
You've actually incarcerated people in here.
Yeah, for their own good, you know, because, you know, some of them late nights, it get kind of wild around here.
Your dad loved to have a good time. You just admit, he probably would have loved this place, huh?
He would have raised Cain with me spending money on something like this, but then he'd go off and tell all his friends how cool it was. So that's the kind of guy he was.
This is it, right?
Yeah, the Silverado Saloon is the kind of the focal point of the whole town. We've had a lot of good parties in there. We got our money's worth out of it.
All right, now isn't there like a way you're supposed to open a saloon door like you see in the movies, right? They come like crashing in.
Yeah, you just go busting right through the middle.
Right, let's see how you do it. There you go.
Yeah, just like that.
As the son of a 7-time Cup Series champion, Dale Earnhardt Jr. struggled to deal with growing pains on the track. I heard you say that when you were younger, there was a time when you crashed and you came home and you were thinking to yourself, this is the end of my career. And you said you and your dad had a great heart-to-heart after that. What did he tell you about putting that in perspective?
Whenever I crashed a car, I went to the lowest of lows. And I'd ran well, but I hadn't done anything to warrant an opportunity at the next level, which was the Nationwide Series. I was getting this opportunity, knowing full well I really didn't deserve it. And then I went out in like the 3rd or 4th race and wrecked the car in practice before the event. And I thought, you know, in most cases, this is probably the end of, you know, my career as I know it. And so I went home and I was, you know, Dad came there and found me. And at first he was very upset and angry that I was, you know, had my head down and was upset. He just said that, you know, my reaction to what happened was wrong. I should have been thinking about how to get back on the racetrack. I should be willing to do anything to get on the racetrack if that's what I want to do for a living. You know, long story short, he said everything was going to work out.
And has that been the attitude that you've had for the better part of your career?
It did change the way I felt. It totally removed a lot of the insecurities I had because I was really young and my father was one of the best in the business. You know, everybody just thought he was the greatest thing on earth, and I was trying to figure out how I was going to have a career following that act. You know, I knew I was always going to be kind of compared to him, which I really didn't mind, but I just knew it was going to be tough to really sell people on me. But it did wipe away a lot of the insecurities that I had, and things really kind of took off after that.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. will do his daddy proud as he wins the Coca-Cola 300.
Looks like he's a chip off of Ralph Earnhardt's old block.
Since then, Dale Jr.'s career has included 2 nationwide championships and 19 wins in Sprint Cup, including the 2004 Daytona 500. Yet at times, some have questioned his dedication to the sport. There's been that perception in the past. I mean, you've been labeled as, you know, is he not passionate enough about the sport? People have even bandied around the word lazy. Why was that perception out there?
Well, I think that, you know, at times I might have been lazy.
How so?
Yeah, it's just, I don't know, you know, you're in your 20s and you know, we're winning races.
And how about this kid?
That's hero material right there.
We was whooping everybody, and I got paired up with Budweiser, and they wanted me to be myself. I wanted to go out and have fun. That was okay with everybody. And the more fun I had, the better, you know, because we were a perfect match. I thought at the time, you know, that I was working hard. And then when I went to work with Rick, I knew that they did things differently. I knew it was going to be a different culture. I've learned that there's really no limit. There's really no max effort. You know, we work a lot harder now than we did, you know, 5, 10 years ago.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. snaps that dry spell, winning today at Michigan.
When you won at Michigan, I know you looked for your crew and everybody else. You also kissed your girlfriend, which got caught on camera. So you're letting some of your personal life, I guess, out there. Are you less afraid to let people see those kinds of things now?
Yeah, I guess so. We happened to be winning the race that day, and I wanted her to be in, you know, if that was the case, I wanted her to be in Victory Lane to see what happens and what goes on and be able to enjoy that celebration. That wouldn't have been fair at all for her not to have been able to be in that middle of that. So I wasn't uncomfortable with it.
I'm wondering where a family life, as you're in your late 30s now, plays in the picture of what you want for yourself down the road.
I don't have a schedule for that. I think that that's the biggest accomplishment you can have in life is to raise a child, and I'd like to have that experience one day, but I'm definitely want to make sure, you know, the time is right and I can, you know, I can do a good job.
At the white flag, we're on the last lap. Oh, there's contact. Stewart into the middle of the pack and over. Everybody piled up.
I just took a lot of hard shots. This is how we raced every week. I'd find another job.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. is going to miss the next 2 races due to concussion.
How difficult has it been this year to be what you've said many times, relevant again, to really be at the top, and then to have to really abdicate that because of the concussions?
Yeah, that was really tough. We weren't lying or kidding ourselves to say we had a shot to be in the mix. And then, you know, I had an accident at testing in Kansas and didn't feel real good, but I'd been through concussions before and I knew that it would go away. Eventually, I didn't know how long it'd take. You know, once we had the accident at Talladega and I went to the doctor and I said, you know, something's just not quite right. I don't care about race cars. I don't care about championships, and my head's not feeling right, and I'm worried that I've got to live the rest of my life with this. And if I was to race again and hide it more and have another accident, it could have been pretty tragic. So I'm glad I made the choice I made.
Not just for you, but for someone else too. Because if you're disabled in any way mentally because of a concussion in a sport that's predicated on split-second decisions and reactions, yeah, you're putting everybody at risk. How much of that did you think about?
Well, I really have to be honest, I was pretty selfish about it. You know, I hid the first concussion and went to the racetrack and competed. I felt like even at 80%, I was still good enough to do my job.
Were you scared enough that even had you been leading the chase, do you think you would have made the same type of decision?
No, I would never made that, no. If I was leading the chase, I think I would have had a hard time volunteering myself to the doctors, for sure. That would have been a totally different situation.
Where does NASCAR have to go with concussions to save drivers, I guess, from themselves, from long-term harm, and for the safety of the sport?
I'm not threatened or worried about anybody putting themselves or anybody else in danger, because I know when it happened to me, nothing else was important anymore. I got to a point to where the only thing I want to do is get this right, because this is annoying me all day long, and I can't live like this, and I don't want to go through any more time than I have to with this going on in my head, you know, and everything's really slow and foggy, and you can't think and process things like you want. It's like a virus running in the background of a computer. And I know if any other driver was in that situation, they'd do the same thing I did. I think they would.
Unless they were leading the chase.
They're leading the chase. I mean, that's just, you know, everybody's got a price they're willing to pay, I guess.
Dale Jr. is constantly reminded of the realities of racing. They're proudly on display. Wrecked cars throughout the woods of his 200-acre property.
Does it have a name? It's like a, I don't know, what is this? What do you call all these cars? No, the cars.
Well, this is just the graveyard, the crash car graveyard. I don't know. Yeah, the NASCAR graveyard, I guess.
Right.
This car right here is the infamous Juan Montoya Daytona car where he ran into the jet dryer. It was an incident that won't soon be forgotten.
I heard the Hall of Fame wanted this car.
The Hall of Fame wanted it, but that went against...
But you got it.
Yeah, that went against my wishes.
So you actually request these cars? Like you'll see something happen and say, hey, you know,
yeah, I mean,
what are you doing with the car?
Yeah, I mean, you know, I knew that was a pretty big event. It's pretty cool to have it out here. And some days, you know, 100 years from now, somebody's gonna stumble on all this stuff and go, man, what in the world is all this stuff doing out here? This is crazy.
What makes you happiest?
What makes me happiest is winning races, running fast laps, and being around my family and my friends, just spending time with them. The best case scenario for me would be to fill up this saloon and just hang out all night. I mean, that doesn't get any funner than that.
Next on NASCAR Face to Face,